Welcome back, Wolfpack Brolis here, and this is how to use Luxray. So Luxray is a Pokemon that on the surface has some really solid base stats. 80 on the hit points, 80 on both defenses, so we're going to have some natural tankiness, and depending if we invest in that or not, we're going to be able to survive at least a couple hits, and then 120 on the attack means we can dish out a pretty solid hit. 95 special attack, while being pretty low, it can give us some special options, and then 70 speed. Really, the only problem here is 70 speed, and that's not really the worst thing that we can understand as a bulky attacker, so we have to kind of take a lot of the things away. Like, we're not going to be a super fast, awesome sweeper, but at least we have a lot of damage potential, and we can kind of combo that stuff together. Like, its typing, pure electric type, so just the ground weakness, and then we also have those resistances to flying, steel, and electric, so the pure electric typing going to be very strong, very reliable, but also it does come at a cost, and we'll talk about that as we hop into Pokemon Showdown. So Pokemon Showdown, we're going to look at Luxray, and here is the curse of electric type Pokemon. Their coverage is really weak. Actually, let's go to Bulbapedia really quick, where I can just kind of show, you know, electric, 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 dark, and not really too much else. You know, the electric type Pokemon, they generally get a signal beam. They generally, that's it for like offenses. While people will look at Luxray and say, well, you can use special attacks on it, your special attack options are going to be severely limited, mostly just Hidden Power and Thunderbolt or Volt Switch or something. And even then, physically, the only other things that you get are Fire Fang and Crunch, so you don't have that great diversity, but you still have a lot of power. That I was thinking we just go bulk choice band. Max out the hit points, max out the attack, you take a hit, you throw a crazy one back, and depending on how it goes, it can work out really well. Now, we also do have other elemental things, so we get to branch in this coverage, but Ice Fang, Fire Fang, they have low base power, so you're going to have to use them for those 4-time super effective hits, or they're not really going to give too much to you. Also, Ice and Electric, if you're hitting a flying type Pokemon, the stab with something like Wild Charge is going to be good, but unfortunately, as a physical electric attacker, Wild Charge is going to be your best option, and it deals recoil to you. So that is something to worry about. And then we can kind of look at some other options. So Ice Fang, you can go into Fire Fang, you can go into Facade. I've seen people like the Facade because say you get burned, say something like that happens to you. You can play it off well, and other than that, you have Superpower. And as a choice Pokemon, you might just come in for specific counter matchups and then switch out. So you bring in Luxray with Superpower, that's going to just give you a lot of really diverse coverage, but it is going to weaken you afterwards, so you might have to switch out, or you might have to hope you're going up against a special attacker and play through on super effective hits. Well, actually, you just use Superpower again. So it does give you some limited options, but it is a very high, very risk, very damaging move, and you can kind of use it like that. As for the ability, I like Intimidate on this. Since you're going to be that bulk attacker, you bring in Luxray against a physical Pokemon, you take a hit, it's going to be nerfed by that Intimidate, and even after using Wild Charge, you still might find yourself around that 50% hit point range, which means you can use Wild Charge twice potentially, get like a KO off of that and a little extra, so that's going to be good. Luxray is going to be a Pokemon that definitely can benefit from a Sticky Web if you are speed investing it, so you take off the hit point investment, go into speed. As for Jolly or something like that, I don't feel that giving it the speedy nature is going to help too much, just stick with the high amounts of attack. Now, when we look at Luxray from a tanky aspect, it's actually not that bad. 80s across the board, depending on how you're investing it, it can become a bulky Pokemon, and you don't really fall too short of Arcanine. 10 less base hit points and then 1 on the defenses, so you are less on that kind of situation, but you can still make it work out pretty well. So I was thinking you just go for like Substitute, Roar, Toxic, and even though it's kind of a cheesy thing and you would expect better or like more offensive of a Pokemon with 120 attack, Luxray can still bulk out some moves really well, and against a Pokemon that's trying to set up or trying to like lead really weird, you can just use that Substitute, you can use Toxic, you can roar them away, and this can also be good in the mid game. So you have a Stealth Rock set up and they're trying to like go for some kind of sweep with a setup, you get behind that Substitute as they're setting up, they might not expect it for sure. On a Luxray, I think that's what makes this really strong, is no one's going to expect it. So then they have to break your sub, or if they keep going for setup, you know, that's when you just roar them away. Then you have Toxic on the follow-up. Toxic with the Stealth Rocks is going to be pretty strong. And then damage options. Like, really, this is where we get into another weird damage situation, because Wild Charge, if you're trying to be a tanky Pokemon, you don't really want to Wild Charge and sacrifice hit points, so you might want to go for coverage. Crunch is just going to be some solid coverage overall, but not a lot of damage. Thunder Fang, you do get Thunder Fang, but low base power. Stab is going to pull up the base power just a bit, but it's mostly like a lot of chip damage. So you're just going to be trying to like roar sub people out, and if your Substitute's still up after they're trying to set up, you know, you're just looking for a little bit of chip damage, and then you can Thunder Fang and Toxic them down until you get knocked out, and hopefully in the end, Luxray did enough to, like, really support you. They removed a very high setup threat, and they also got a lot of damage, which could equate to winning off of just being this bulky sub-roar toxic Pokemon, and while it is a crazy strategy, it can still work out pretty well. Other than that, I was thinking, why not in doubles, just having support Luxray again? Then as I looked more into the support Luxray idea, I really started to like it, because you still have a lot of bulk, and with this, I was thinking Modest Nature, Hidden Power Ice, and Discharge. This way that in doubles, you know, we're hitting a lot with Discharge. We use that Hidden Power Ice for specific matchups like Garchomp, Landorus, Salamence, which are very common Pokemon in doubles, and then Baby Doll Eyes. Now you come in with the Intimidate, so you already lower the attack, and then you just use Baby Doll Eyes on other Pokemon that you really don't feel you're going to get much damage against. So you see a Kangaskhan, Baby Doll Eyes, lowers the target's attack by 1. Now the interesting thing about it is it has a +1 priority. So really here you're just using your bulk to intimidate into the Baby Doll Eyes, you can protect, and then you're just supporting your Pokemon next to you. Have that be a Mega Pokemon, have that be a Pokemon that's also Ground type potentially, or at least carries Protect, that way you can discharge safely, and then you're really looking to make it to where their physical attackers aren't damaging you at all. You can maybe switch out Luxray, bring it back in for more Intimidate, go into that Baby Doll Eyes on just the physical attackers, maybe have a high special defensive bulky Pokemon or an Assault Vest Pokemon, that way they're really not going to take much, and then you have Hidden Power Ice and Discharge. Also, Luxray does get access to Snarl, so you can also use Snarl to lower attack and special attack, and now you just have this bulky Luxray dealing a decent amount of damage while throwing out, you know, the attack and special attack drops, and even then you don't even have to be the Modest and stuff, you can have another defensive spread. I was thinking Impish Nature on this set, but if we're wanting to go with the double set, we'd probably have to go with a Bold Nature. Bold Nature is going to make it to where we lose attack instead of special attack, and then we can just kind of play however we want. Maybe more, it's actually kind of tough though, because since we're coming in with that Intimidate, we don't need heavy defensive investment, but still pretty good because we are trying to shut down physical Pokemon, and we are going to have to endure special attacks until we get those Snarls going. So Snarl Discharge is also pretty decent, which means maybe just go Defensive Nature again, and then put the rest in the special defense. That way we have a lot of underlying bulk in both of them, and then we're just really trying to cycle out through the opponents. We're dropping both their special attacks, we're dropping both their attack, we can single out attack before they can even use an attack, and that's going to be your support Luxray. I feel like that's where Luxray is going to find the most success. As for the last set, I was thinking, alright, let's just go Thunder Wave, because Thunder Wave is going to make you faster than your opponent. You paralyze them, then you go for the damage, and then you hopefully win. Now, also this is going to be really good, because Life Orb does increase your damage, not as much as Choice Band, but it also gives you a lot of freedom to attack. So if you have that freedom, then that way you find that super effective hit, you're not forced out because you have an unfair Choice Band matchup, and then you can still get a lot of damage across. So Intimidate, again, if you want to play that bulk side, come in, intimidate them, Thunder Wave them, and now since they're intimidated, they're not going to be able to do a lot of damage. You 2-hit KO them, and you still have a lot of speed. Potentially, if you have enough hit points left, you can still use a Thunder Wave, and now you're at least kind of weakening your opponent, maybe getting a little bit of extra damage, and you're at least being a 1-for-1 plus, or maybe a little better. Also, again, this kind of shows that you can maybe mix it around, just go with speed investment under a Sticky Web, that could be very powerful, and it's really just going to be Crunch, Wild Charge, and whatever other move. Now, the interesting thing with Ice Fang is that, you know, Earthquake is a huge threat. Now, with the hit point investment and an Intimidate, you do have a chance of surviving the Earthquake, so you're not really worrying about the Thunder Wave, you use Ice Fang, and then you're just going to use that for the win. But also, you have Fire Fang. Fire Fang is going to be good for taking out Ferrothorn, taking out Scizor, and this is just kind of like a generic thing, you know. Do you choose the fire? Do you choose the red pill? Do you choose the blue pill? Do you want to hit fire? Do you want to hit ice? And depending on which one you want, it could be really good. Fire Fang can have its drawbacks though. You hit a Ferrothorn, that's a lot of Iron Barb's recoil, that's going to be a lot of recoil from potentially a Rocky Helmet. However, it is enough damage to knock out a majority of Ferrothorns, unless they're like full defensive investment, you're going to have a hard time, but then you can still two-shot them because it's a Ferrothorn, so you can find outspeeds there, you can find a lot of damage, and it's really, like, you're going to find success on either Fire Fang or Ice Fang from time to time. It's really the one that you feel that you need the coverage for. That if you already have some Ice on your team, maybe go with the Fire Fang, and if you already have Fire, maybe go with the Ice Fang. That way you can use Luxray as your coverage, as well as just your weakening Pokemon. That with the Thunder Wave into Wild Charge, a lot of damage, Thunder Wave and Crunch, a lot of extra coverage, and then the Thunder Wave, you know, if you paralyze 2 Pokemon on your opponent's side of the team, Luxray's already done enough that could maybe lead to a sweep in the end of the game. So I hope you guys enjoy. Oh wait, not time for the end of the video just yet, because let's talk about Guts Luxray. I don't think Guts is that great, honestly, because the Intimidate utility, very strong. Rivalry is a bit risky, but unless you're playing like female Pokemon, since most of the Pokemon in the game are males, Rivalry could work out, but I just don't like that risk. And then when we're looking at Guts, you have to sacrifice your items. So that means, you know, you don't have Life Orb, you don't have Choice Band, you don't have Choice Scarf if you want to run it, and then you're just going to be taking damage. So the recoil from Wild Charge, the recoil from a Burn Orb, for a little bit of extra attack gain while you're also being the slowest Pokemon on the field, I think it's just too much residual damage and you're not going to gain enough from it. So I don't feel Guts is good. Other than that, Luxray, think it's more of a supportive Pokemon or more of a bulk attacker, and you're going to find the most success there with it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, that's how you use Luxray, and I hope you all have a nice day.